Hello neighbors, and welcome back to the channel. I am Ariana and I am the therapist next door. So today's video is going to be all about Latino family culture and some of the particular challenges that we deal with when we come from Latin families. So most people, when they think about Latin culture, they might think about family togetherness and unity. And certainly this is true. There is a lot of that, and it's a very beautiful part of Latino culture. However, there is a shadow side to that, and this video is going to break down a little bit about what that looks like and some things that you might do that can help you if this is something that you happen to be struggling with. So what I'm going to primarily talk about in today's video is something that's called enmeshment. It's very similar to codependency. Basically what it means is a lack of boundaries. So a lot of times what you'll see is a lack of privacy between parents and their children. Sometimes parents over relying on their children, dumping emotionally on them particular themes or topics that are not really appropriate for children to be dealing with. And of course, all this tends to foster a lot of codependency. So what ends up happening is that a lot of times people that grow up in Latin families have a really hard time saying no, because whenever they've tried to say no, they're often guilt tripped. Anytime they've attempted to set a boundary for themselves, there's a lot of pressure from the family system to put the family member's needs above your own. And so this creates issues of codependency and people pleasing when you become an adult. You will oftentimes find that you don't have enough time for yourself, and that can lead to you being resentful and even developing symptoms of anxiety or depression. You may even feel responsible for other people's well-being or happiness. Some of the other things that can happen that might not be so great is that a lot of times there is an over-focus on what other people think, what other people are going to judge or think about family members. And there sometimes can be a pressure to perform or do things that the family wants you to do instead of prioritizing a child's authentic desires to explore, whether it's career or hobbies. So this results in a lack of individuality. Again, all circles back to issues of codependency. If some of the things I'm saying resonate with you and you've noticed that it is starting to become problematic for you, meaning you really are having such a hard time saying no to other people, or you really identify yourself as a people pleaser and it's causing problems in your own life, maybe you're not tending to yourself as much as you'd like to, you have a really hard time setting boundaries, especially with your family, the first thing I would recommend that you do, since you are now aware of this as a potential issue, is to educate yourself. Read books on enmeshment and codependency. It will really help you understand the dynamics and some of the core issues that you can look out for, and that will give you just a better understanding of how this happens. The second thing I would recommend, and probably the most important thing, would be to start setting boundaries. Whether those boundaries are small or big, it doesn't really matter. It's something that will get easier over time, but it's never going to be easy to start setting boundaries with your Latin family. So meaning you start to say no, or you start to prioritize your needs a little bit more. What's going to happen typically is your family members are going to do things to try to get you to come back to homeostasis, which is kind of that baseline where you always typically said yes. You have to kind of be ready to expect the guilt trips, expect the judgment, expect all of those things, and kind of just be willing to push through that and understand that over time your family will come to respect you more, and more importantly, you will respect yourself more. And if this is something that's new for you, start watching videos, read books, work with a therapist or a coach that can help you with assertiveness and boundary setting. I do want to cover something that might be a little bit more difficult, but it does happen in some families. So let's say that you're starting to work on yourself and you're starting to set these boundaries, but maybe your family is just continuously not respecting these boundaries. A lot of times what happens, and this can happen in all different cultures, are what we refer to in the therapy world as emotional cutoffs. I'm sure you've met somebody before that says, oh yeah, I just don't talk to my mom anymore, or I'm estranged from my brother. These things typically happen because of some trauma or something that happened in the family dynamics. And instead of dealing with it and trying to maybe set boundaries or trying to find an understanding, these people just decide that it's better for them, it's easier for them to just completely avoid contact with this person. This is not something I would necessarily recommend, especially not as the first line of defense. So the first things that you really want to be doing is you really want to be trying to set those boundaries, maybe escalating those boundaries if needed. Now, if it does get to a point where your boundaries are just not being respected, then it may make sense to either have some distance or even potentially have no contact with certain family members for a period of time. So I just wanted to make that distinction between what a cutoff is, which is something that would fall more in the avoidance family, and what no contact would be, which is a decision that is more empowering and assertive based on your efforts to already try to work things through in a healthy, assertive way. Yes, Latin culture can be absolutely beautiful, and there's so many things that are so special about it, but it is important to talk about the shadow side of things, in my opinion, because a lot of times, we don't acknowledge that, and then we end up repeating a lot of these same patterns in our own relationships, and we pass along a lot of this to the next generation. And so it's really important to just build awareness here to try to break cycles that are not healthy and really hold on to the beautiful parts of the culture that make us feel really good and connected in a healthy way. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you relate to this. I think a lot of people do, obviously, particularly in the Latin culture. And I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Authentically yours, Ariana.